Hey everybody, welcome to We Run on Reruns. I'm Amanda and I'm here with my brother Eric.
How's everybody doing out there? We are here. It feels like it's taken a long time to get here, but we are here with the final season.
A little bit.
Of Stranger Things, Season 5, Episode 1, The Crawl. I am so excited to do this last season. This is going to be fun.
I know. Me too. I can't believe. So when we started this is when we were like multitasking with watching the final season and kicking off our pilot season of Stranger Things for the podcast. And yeah, it feels like forever ago at this point. So I'm ready to rewatch it with fresh eyes, especially now coming right off of season 4, because I'd had a significant gap at that point from the last time I saw season 4. Because it was 2 years. It was
a notable amount of time for me too, and so being able to then watch season 5 while we were watching like season 1 or 2, and then watching it all the way through, I will say, I definitely will have a different feeling of this going through it now than I did then. And I mean, we talked about this on our last podcast with friends. The final season of any show is usually brutally rated. And so I'm very interested to see how I feel about this watching these things the second time through. I definitely have some strong emotions about some sequences in here. I have some strong emotions about this episode we're going to talk about today. But let's jump into it. Final
seasons are so tricky, especially with a beloved show that you've really invested time. And it's like, man, I have so many like strong feelings, like you're saying, about the characters, about the storylines. Everyone has their own opinion about what direction it should take. And it's like, what a challenge for the writers. But
it is genuinely impossible to please everybody. You just can't do it. So the question is, like, tell the story. The way I would always look at it is tell the story you want to tell. And then see what people think of that. And that's the thing. If you try to please too many people, it never goes well. Everybody always picks at it one way or the other. And listen, they told the story they wanted to tell, and here we are, and we're going to take a look at it.
You just have to honor the story. Better to just honor the story than to give too many, too many cares about what is pleasing everyone, because that's just not going to happen. But okay, so as a reminder of where we left things off last week, we had Eddie sacrificing himself for the greater good. With Mike's help, we also saw Eleven breaking free of Vecna's hold and forcing him to release Max, and the Hawkins crew lit him on fire. As Vecna was burning, the ground split in Hawkins. And just as the whole group was reuniting in Hawkins, the particles were starting to snow down all over the town, and Will was getting the goosebump tingles on the back of his neck, knowing Vecna is not dead and the fight isn't over. So that's kind of, if you haven't watched it, or if you haven't listened to our last 2 podcasts, because we broke it up into 2 different episodes, jump over there first. Do yourself a favor and also watch it. It was really epic. Great episode. I know I gave that one 10 out of 10. I loved it. And Eric was really close.
I gave it a 9.9. 9.9 because the massacre at Hawkins Lab, where we find out the identity of Vecna and all that, and Henry and One. Like, that to me is my favorite episode. So that one is getting
and I
10.
get that. Yeah.
Okay, so
I get that.
With
this.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, I did, but this one is called. I know Eric usually gives the title of the episode too, so I'm gonna kick things off for this episode, and then we're gonna just be kind of transitioning back and forth with different chunks of this episode, because sometimes I know we split the podcast up into like topics or like what's happening with a certain group, but this episode is just it's just, it makes more sense to talk about it sequentially because everyone is together.
The thing about it is this episode is very unique, I feel like, in the lore of Stranger Things in general. They do not mix words. Like, it's been a notable amount of time since our last Stranger Things season. There has clearly been time here, not maybe as much as in real world time, like 3 years or whatever it was, but there's been some time that they've had to deal with everything that's going on there. They're going to talk about things that they've done for a long period of time, and we're all kind of playing catch up as we go.
Yes.
So with that, we're just going to run through this one in order. I think we'll probably break the rest of them into storylines, and then just a heads up, we will probably do the final episode as a 2-parter because that one is over 2 hours long. Yeah. The rest of them will probably be one episode. So with that, let's talk about the crawl.
Yes. So today we're covering season 5, episode 1, chapter 1, The Crawl. And we open up to the date, November 12th, 1983. And Eric, I gotta say, just a quick, whenever I see November 12th, 1980, it's like, it's making me think of Back to the Future.
Always.
November 12th, 1955. That was the date the clock tower was struck. As a nerd, I just have to throw
something about November 12th, I think. Something weird going on that day.
But we have November 12th, 1983, which we also know was a very important date in Stranger Things lore because this is the moment where we see Will back in Castle Byers as a small child singing, should I stay or should I go? And we remember this scene because the Demogorgon was stalking around Castle Byers. He's in the Upside Down and it was about to bust through. But now we see what actually went down in this scene. So I love that we had this flashback moment right away where we're getting more insight into Will's experience here. So this is where we see the Demogorgon stalking around the fort, the Demogorgon breaking in, and Will is then running away and climbing up this broke down tree, but he is just making his way to the top the best he can. But you also see the Demogorgon is right there chasing after him, and just, you kind of have this moment where he's waiting at the top, but it is coming right through these clouds, and Will is then leaping to another tree, only to crash down and get caught by his backpack on one of the branches, but then continues to fall the rest of the way down, landing hard on the ground. The Demogorgon is then taking him. Instead of eating him and killing him, which we obviously know he didn't do, it's just dragging Will back to Vecna's lair so that Vecna can then grab him and wrap him up in his tentacles. And this is where we see where he was hooked up to that tentacle that we know that Joyce had eventually freed him from. But this is where he is connected to the hive mind. And, Vecna's saying to him in his classic Vecna-y way, "You and I are going to do such beautiful things together, William." And I get the chills here, Eric, because I'm like, I know what's to come. Now I know what's to come. And now we see just this extra backstory for Will. It was a great intro. I really like that they did that. And I feel like I appreciate it so much more on the rewatch.
I will say that this opening scene was great. Really liked it for season 5. I feel like if you hadn't seen any of the other seasons, it's a fine opening scene. It certainly gets you into the vibe. If you have seen the other seasons, it's like a thank you for paying attention to our show all the way through. And I love when they do those sorts of things. And the fact that they did this in the very first scene of their very last season, it sets the tone that, hey, there are going to be some things that we sprinkle in here that you have been asking about, or that you've wanted to see, or that you're trying to see, what happened in that moment? And now we're getting some more detail. So that whole scene in the first season where the Demogorgon like was stalking around Castle Byers and like busted the wall down, we never saw a conclusion to that.
Saw it.
And now we get it here, which is really quite interesting. Like, I'm glad to see that they showcased how Will got from that moment all the way to Vecna's lair where Joyce and Hopper eventually find him.
And they used this other actor in that scene, but then they overlaid young Will's face over the other actor's face. So there was some CGI work, but there was also like an actual other actor who was age appropriate in that moment. So it was kind of a mix of, and I feel like it was a little, because every year technology just gets that much better too. And I'm sure with a larger budget too, like who knows, everything is just more possible. But I feel like it was better than when we first saw Young 11 when they did the CGI work there.
So my initial thoughts on that were that being that this is in the upside down, everything is darker. You've got the particles falling.
There's that too.
A Young 11 was like in the, fluorescent lights of a hospital. And
that's true.
This was a little bit easier to hide maybe some of that stuff just with the context of the setting.
That could easily be part of it. Yeah. And I know it's like by the time they had him climbing up the tree, it's like there's so much action and like tension there that you're not even as focused on his face. At least that's how I felt. So
we get the credits here, and now we're going to drop into the outside of the Wheeler house where we see a sprinkler going. And for a moment, it feels like, oh, everything's fine here, except it's very much not okay. As we go to the inside of the Wheeler house, and Holly is setting the table, and she kind of branches off from the table and goes over to the window and waves to this figure outside that we can't really see because the water from the sprinkler is hitting the window and it's kind of giving this rain effect, but there's somebody outside and she's waving to that person. And then Karen Wheeler comes around the corner and she yells to Holly and says, "Hey, round up the troops." And this is when we learn that the entire Byers family is living at the Wheeler's house right now. Joyce is there, Jonathan and Will are there. Like, everybody's here together. And, Ted is not super thrilled about it because they go down to breakfast together. And Holly is reading her book, A Wrinkle in Time, at the table, while Mr. Wheeler is asking for her to pass the bacon. And as she passes the plate of bacon down the table, well, everybody takes bacon except for Mr. Wheeler, because by the time it gets to him, that plate is empty. And Ted, that's not going to sit well. So he's asking how much longer they're all going to be here, to which Karen's response is, "What do you want me to do? Kick him to the street?"
Yeah.
And as we move from this scene where some of the kids are biking away and Joyce is driving away, we get Rockin' Robin at Squawk, the radio station, where she is the new DJ, apparently, and Steve is playing all the sound effects.
So well.
What's that?
This fits Robin's character so well, her being a radio DJ. I'm like, yeah, this is just the perfect role for her.
It's an amazing place for her because she can just sit there and ramble and everyone's going to have to listen. And you know what? As she's going through, this is an excellent mechanism to attempt to tell the story of, hey, this is what's going on at Hawkins. So she is giving things like talking about how safe it is with our citizen to military ratio. And, you've never had better healthcare with all those mandatory medical checks that we get all the time. And there's fun sledding to be had on the steel coverings that apparently have been laid out all over town, covering over those cracks that were laid when Vecna killed Max. And, we then get this moment where, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Let me go back.
Okay.
We have Robin then also talking about her next date, which she is going on, and talking about how people can try to still live their lives and do the good things. And she's got a date tonight, and this one is out for you, and plays a song which doesn't really get played because the radio tower loses all of its, juice. And essentially we get this idea of, oh, they shut us down because we're not following like what their guidelines are. And she's saying, well, no, they told us that we have to urge everyone to be compliant. And that's what I was doing. I was urging everyone to be compliant. And yet Steve knows. And then we find him talking to Dustin because Dustin gets the call to try and fix the radio. They're both saying, well, yeah, but you're doing it sarcastically. So it's obvious that you're trying to tell us not to listen to them. And so there's this whole back and forth. But meanwhile, we are privy to the idea that Robin is being asked to convert or get everybody to just be okay with the military being in town. And
the idea
it's a very interesting
your
thought.
Purpose,
yeah,
your purpose on the radio is to now like demand compliance.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, that's part of it. And listen, she was using the words. I don't know. Were the military reading into her tone? Unclear.
Well, it's funny that you say tone because Dustin can't solve the problem from there. He's like, listen, Steve, sometimes you're going to have to fix it yourself. That's what it is. And Dustin hangs up with Steve, and Steve is saying to Robin, you heard that tone, right? Which is a nice callback to Steve and Eddie talking about how it's always Dustin's tone. It's not what he says, it's the tone that he says it in.
It's the tone, right? Yeah.
But Dustin is now walking through the halls of the school wearing his Hellfire Club t-shirt, and everyone is looking at him because, listen, the last we left off in season 4, Hellfire Club was being like chased down by the entire community. And so wearing this shirt is not a great look for Dustin. And essentially, when Dustin gets to his locker, Jason's old friends start attacking him. The one that chased Erica down in the park is the one that is now leading the charge here. And so
hat guy.
Yeah, hat guy. So he ends up trying to rip the t-shirt off of Dustin, only for Lucas to show up in the background. And there's this whole back and forth between the former teammates of Lucas and Lucas's. And Lucas makes this whole idea of, listen, last time my sister kicked you in the balls and you couldn't walk straight for a week. If you keep messing with my boy, like, I'm going to do it and they're just going to pop. And this is where Lucas is at now, only for the bully friend to kind of come back at Lucas, for then Mike and Will to show up and like double down on, no, we run this place, and it's like a very interesting turn.
I love it. Yes.
But then as the bully backs down and Dustin and the gang kind of walk away, they are all mad at Dustin, like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is not following the plan. This is not blending in. What are you? This is the opposite of what we're trying to be doing, only for Dustin to be adamant that, listen to yourselves. This is not what Eddie would have wanted. He wouldn't want us to blend in. Like, what are you saying? This is not what we do. But they all have the bigger plan in play that they're trying to stick to. And Dustin is kind of breaking ranks from their big plan, which we don't really know about. We're just hearing them talk about trying to stay under the radar. We hear Robin talking about being compliant, and Dustin seems to be bucking the trend from this whole thing. And as we pan away from this scene, we see a wanted poster outside the school looking for 11.
Yeah, I love that moment where you see Lucas approaching, looking really badass, and then then all of a sudden Mike coming out and like talking smack to them. I'm like, what is happening? This is great. Like, this was so great to see, like, them just not just taking it, and they were fighting back, and they had really that confidence as they're speaking to these jock bullies. It was a great moment. And Mike did also say, listen, Eddie wouldn't want you fighting these guys,
Yeah.
he would want us to focus on taking down Vecna. So it's like, I feel like Dustin is obviously just really hurt and upset and angry. And so he is obviously, because of how close he was to Eddie, just still dealing with that and taking it really hard. I mean, it almost reminds me a little bit of Max in the beginning of the last season,
there's
right?
definitely some parallels that could be drawn there, where Max had to deal with Billy's death at the end of season 3, and that then spurred her onto an entire storyline, which leads her to where she is today. And Dustin is dealing with that death of Eddie and still trying to figure out how to cope. At the same time, you know, unfortunately for Dustin, this does not appear to be the time in which you have a lot of time to be able to process and cope, because there's a lot going on. And while it sometimes feels like at the school everything is running normally, it's clearly not. And the idea that Eddie would want them to be searching down Vecna, it also leads to the idea, as I believe Mike mentioned, listen, you're trying to fight 2 fights. Like, you can't fight the people here and also fight Vecna. Just fit in here and we'll deal with Vecna. Like, one thing at a time. If you're trying to do them both, you're going to end up not being able to do either.
And that's true. Yeah. That it's like, hey, the Vecna fight is slightly more important, you know, globally.
Yeah.
So, and on 11's missing poster, Eric, too, I just wanted to point out that there's a number there, and if you call it, you get a recording from the Hawkins Police Department, which states that the town is locked down due to an earthquake, and the Hawkins Emergency Task Force is collaborating with the police to locate Jane Hopper, who is top priority for them.
So I have heard this. I have heard people talk about. I have not actually tried it. Have you tried it?
Yes. Did it work? I tried it. Yeah, it did.
That's
it was
awesome.
The real thing.
That's so great.
And it was the same with the number that they had put in Murray's little bunker. Before, because I had tried to call that, and it was like this message to his mom, like explaining things. It was really funny. Yeah. So yeah, the phone numbers, whenever you see them, they're real, and you should try to call them. It's great.
I will say this. I said this at the beginning of our first episode of season 1, and I mean it even more, especially if you're on the rewatch here. Season 5 is not a season you can watch with your phone also playing something else. You
put the phone down.
Like, this is one where every frame means something. Every little moment, every little thing that they attempt to highlight, posters in the background, whatever, they mean something, or they could mean something. So we continue.
It's true. And so in this next scene, we see the military chasing down and taking down this woman that they think is 11, but it's not her.
Nope.
And so you can see they are actively just in broad daylight, just shooting people, thinking that, hey, this might be 11. But then we see the real 11 training in the woods and running through this obstacle course that they have set up for her to really hone her skills here. And we see Hopper and Joyce, they're timing her. So they've come up with this agreement that she needs to beat a certain amount of time, right?
Yes. Now let me just put this out here. This obstacle course that she's running through ends at this junkyard that they have been to now a number of times, right?
This is that junkyard. Yes.
Okay.
That's how I took it.
So yeah. You'd think that someone would know that they're at the junkyard by now. Like, they've been located here by authorities more than once, I feel like.
Right. Maybe they find school bus?
It can't be the school bus that's running every day.
That they were hiding in? No. Yeah. Remember the one that they were hiding in? Yeah.
Yes. Like, they've been here multiple seasons and hiding here. And it's like, I don't know. Find a new place, guys. Like, there's no way that they don't know about this.
Right. That's a great point. Because it's like, I don't know how many junkyards are in Hawkins, but I'm thinking that's the one.
Gotta
be. Right. Well, she's, because she's now preparing to take down Vecna. And meanwhile, Hopper's kind of like, well, I'm going to go eat some waffles and watch some Miami Vice. But 11 is all business. She's like, I'm going to run through this again. I'm going to keep training. Which I don't blame her. Like, again, kind of going back to what the guys were saying to Dustin, it's like, this is the one thing that they need to focus on right now. I think Hopper is trying to simultaneously play this dad role. This is about 18 months since they reconnected too. So just to keep that in mind, this is like, so it's been like a year and a half of this situation, this like quarantine getting built up around them and just this new normal. And so Hopper, I think is, yeah.
And not to jump too far ahead into the episode, but I think it's worth noting that there's something on the line for 11 to get if she reaches a certain amount of time. And Hopper is trying to prevent her at this point from reaching that time. And so we don't exactly know all of these things as we're watching it through for the first time, but later in this episode, we find out these things, and that is impactful for why he is suggesting, oh, let's just go stop and get some waffles. Let's have a Miami Vice marathon. Like, let's do all these things that are not training right now because he knows she's going to beat it. Yeah. And he doesn't want her to
beat the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've made an agreement that if she beats a certain time, she can, help him in his, quest. Thank you. Yeah. So, but as of right now, we're now going to the scene with Murray where my notes are just like, he's up to something. Because as Murray always is. Yeah, he shows up in a truck with a fake ID driving through this military checkpoint. And,
Murray drives trucks through military checkpoints for a living. This is what he does.
This is his move. Right. We're not sure really what that is, but we obviously know it's to help the group. So then we see Jonathan, Nancy, Steve, and Robin, where they're all looking for a way to fix the radio because it's still not working. It's still all staticky. Something's going on. They're going over to this radio tower where this scene is just hilarious to me, where they need someone to go to the top. So both Steve and Jonathan are like, no, I'll do it. No, I've got this, dude. No, like, Classic. I'll do it. And they're just like, oh my God, going back and forth. I love Robin's line where he's like, she's looking at Nancy like, what is it about your presence that brings out their inner Neanderthal? And it's like, these two are just doing the most here. It's just racing to the top. And I love how they make it to the top at the same exact moment.
Exactly the same moment. Like literally hands down on the grate. I wonder how many times they shot that just to land the hands together like perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, of course, what is it? Jonathan plugs it in, and then Steve hits the button, so they're both like, I did it! And it's like, you guys are idiots.
They both are calling down, like, I got it! Like, we fixed it! That's what they said, and it's like,
Nancy's not even there.
And they're gone.
Yeah,
they're not even there. They've walked away at this point. It's like, this is not a great look. So, because, listen, Nancy is off. She's got more important things to do because Murray has pulled up with that truck now saying, Santa has brought a full sack today. And it is bullets, grenades, like all the stuff that they need, which is now Nancy's wheelhouse. Like, Nancy is the ammunition queen here.
Apparently.
So, and he's looking to Nancy because Nancy is like their captain. Like, she is now obviously taking the lead. I mean, she started that last season for sure, really mapping everything out, figuring out it's like, hey, when they gave that 5-point plan during the last one, she's kind of, reviewing it with the team. So Murray's looking to Nancy still. And Murray also is finding out and telling them because he's discovered that there is going to be a huge supply drop to the military tonight. And they're like, that's early because clearly they've all been tracking these things. And we don't, again, like as Eric has said with the earlier scene with Hopper and 11, it's like, we don't really know what this means at this point. We just know that the military is getting supplies and they have a larger window for them to do what they're calling the crawl, which is also the title of this episode. So obviously this is this mission that they have now decided to call the crawl, and they're going to have a larger window than normal to do it. So Eric, I don't know if you had any other like notes on that specific moment.
I think it was very interesting because we had a few other things get brought out of the truck. Steve got some snack that he really enjoyed. And he was like, "Oh man, poppers! Like I haven't had those in forever." You know, so you kind of, but it's those little moments that let you know, like they don't have access to things that they regularly had access to, and this is just a food type. This is not anything else.
Yes.
But Jonathan also gets a tape that is a different type of music that Murray says, you know, I think you'd really find this engaging, though.
Was he giving him weed?
No.
Okay, because I didn't know if he was like, this is music that you want.
No.
Oh, that's what that
I am visually pointing to something.
To his finger.
I'm like, hey, this is listen, spoilers, right? Okay, but he's giving him the tape box, and in not this episode, he's going to open that tape box up and get an engagement ring.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Eric. I was like, is he like giving him
no, because then Nancy looks at him like, what is this? And then Murray like slaps her with something to like totally distract her from the whole thing. He's like, here's this grenade for you. Like, oh, okay.
Yes. And we see him opening up the tape case in a later episode.
It doesn't do it in this one.
This is the ring. Got it.
Yeah.
No, good call.
Thank
Eric.
you.
Yeah. I'm like,
that's what I'm here for. Okay. Hey, listen, things that seem out of place are not out of place. There's a reason in this episode where everything is done for something.
Oh, I love that. Nice job picking that up.
Thank you.
So, well, we find out again, but yes, there's a supply drop, and that's going to come back in later in the episode. So back at school, though, we see Dustin going into another room with who we learn is Jake the Snake. He's a corn snake, and his name is Jake.
Just like the WWF wrestler, Jake the Snake.
Oh my God.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for, bringing the WWE knowledge.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Well, was that before this time, though? Or was that like timeline
that would be like timeline appropriate. It's like 80s into the early 90s. Jake the Snake was like a thing. Now, I mean, I could check it. I'm not 100%, but he was definitely through the 80s into the 90s for sure.
Okay. Well, then we see Lucas telling Will, Mike, and Dustin that he wants to... Wait, I don't think this is right.
What? Lucas telling Dustin that he wants to what?
That he wants to start the Hellfire Club up again, but no, that Dustin wants to start it up. That's what it was.
They're sitting at like the lunch table having this discussion.
Yes. But Lucas is telling Will and Mike that Dustin wants to do that, not that he wants to. My notes were a little confusing there for me, guys. Sorry.
Because they're all thinking like, they all are recognizing that something is up with Dustin. And even then when they're at this lunch table, they're all talking about it. And when Dustin comes and sits down at the table in a very...
He's like, who's lost it?
In a very Eddie way. You know, he sits at the head of the table. He's sitting in a very specific way. And when he asked them who's lost it, this is the first time in the series, I think, that they look at Dustin with a little bit of like trepidation. Like, we're not sure what this guy's going to do. And so it's like, it's Arnie or whatever name it was that they threw out there. Like just talking about some other kid, like he's lost it, blah, blah, blah. Ha ha ha. So Dustin, and it's very like obvious that they are all very concerned about Dustin, but also kind of afraid of him in this moment.
Yes, and people have also noticed that Dustin is wearing Eddie's like rings here.
Yeah.
And that he is sitting in his seat at the table, and it is very like he's really trying to take on his persona.
Which let's not forget, Eddie's dying words to Dustin were like, hey, you know, you gotta take on the role, like, don't let them fall behind, like, you know. And so there's this whole discussion about Dustin wanting to start up Hellfire so he can find like the lost sheep, meaning like the kids at the school that are maybe a little lost and don't have anywhere to go. Like he wants to like shepherd them the way that Eddie tried to do with Dustin and Mike and Lucas and the rest of them all through their high school experience.
But this is just such a different role for Dustin within the group that they're all kind of like,
almost to the point where it's changed his personality dramatically. And anytime you see that with anybody, where you get a very rapid personality change, it is, it's, I don't want to say like off-putting, but it is weird. It's like, it makes you take a step back because you're like, whoa, hold on. Why are we making such a dramatic shift? And I understand that Dustin wants to take on the Eddie role, but that doesn't mean that he should be Eddie. He can take on the Dustin role by being Dustin, because he also told him never change, Henderson, and he has changed. So there's definitely something there.
And Grief will do that for sure.
Oh, for sure.
And it's, but I feel like the actor does such a great job here too, because even the way that he's carrying himself like through the hallway, like you just see it. Like
it's like he studied how Eddie did everything and then is trying to replicate it the best he can. He's doing a very good job. The actor is.
He is. But
so anyway,
then we hear the radio coming back on with Rockin' Robin, and she's putting the upside down. It's Diana Ross, right?
I think
upside down, and it is so awesome. I love that they incorporated the song. I was thinking, finally, that this song is used on the show. It's so perfect, but it is their chosen signal within the group to alert everyone who hears it that something's going down, that they need to start planning on their next crawl. And as the song is about to kick off, she's also giving information about the drop, like in code. So she's using various letters and numbers, and you see the whole group, like it's flashing to everyone, writing down these codes that Robin is dropping. And it's a really cool scene.
Yeah, the code ultimately is North G1, 10, and 2 hours. So I believe these are like the directions, and then like G1 being the like the square that they have to start at, and 10 maybe being how far they've got to go, and then the 2 being the 2 hours. I'm not 100% sure on those things, but it's definitely the pieces that they need, because then, as we see, they all start breaking out the plan without even being around each other. Like they all have the game plan based on the code that Robin has provided, which means they're all also with an open radio at all times, because they never know when it's going to come.
Yeah, and that just goes to show, I mean, this is, again, it's been 18 months. They've clearly run through this many times. They are very well organized. So, I mean, this is a lot, and they're ready for the next move here. And that's where we see they're all like mapping things out, right? Because we have them broken out into different groups.
So now the older kids are going to jump into this hidden basement at Squawk. They kind of have this bookshelf that they move out of the way, or maybe not a bookshelf, a supply shelf, really, that they're able to move out of the way, go down this hidden door, slide the shelf back over and cover it up so it doesn't look like there's anything there. And they are now on the way with their plans after giving the code. And so they walk down into this meeting room and start breaking out how they're going to go through the plans. And while they are doing that, and Nancy is literally in front of this giant board of what they believe the upside down to look like, with all the different quadrants and squares and everything broken out, we are seeing her break down this plan at the same time that the other Wheeler, Mike, is breaking down the plan like in the woods outside the school with Dustin and Lucas and Will. And the four of them are there. They've got a paper version of this whole thing, and they've got their D&D characters that they're putting down on the map, which is really kind of funny that all of a sudden we're seeing this like Dungeons and Dragons style of strategy brought into real life with them. Used to be a game board. Now it's for real. And at the same time, they are talking about all these different things, and they are both mentioning like, this is such a non-Vecna place to be. Like, why would he be in this area? There's nothing here. This is like a boring zone, and they've already done 30 crawls. Steve is, mentioning to Nancy, is it possible that we just killed him already? Is it possible that we're all doing this for a loss? That there's nothing there? Will hasn't felt the vibes in a long time. Like, last time we all saw him, he was getting burned, shotgunned, and fell out of a window, and then he just disappeared into nothing. Is it possible that we did get him? And both Nancy and Mike are on the front of, we're going to do this methodically 1,000 times if we have to, until we are 100% sure we are going to clear this thing out. And so
that makes sense.
I listen, I'm with them. The idea that you're just going to assume, nah, sorry, Steve, I'm not with you.
Yeah, this is... No, and Eric, I just also want to point out that this scene with the boys at the picnic table, that's the same picnic table that Eddie and Chrissy were talking at last season.
I wasn't 100% on that, but that makes sense.
Yeah, I like that they just brought in that meeting place, because at first I was like, picnic table in the woods. Why do I know this? Oh yeah, that's that same.
At first I thought they were like working their way close to the cabin, but I'm like, no, they're not there. They are somewhere else. So they're outside of the school, but then the boys all kind of put their hands in and they do the like for Eddie like chant, and they all throw it up and put the hands up in the eye for Eddie. And this is when all of a sudden Will turns as the other three boys are together, and he's starting to look very concerned, and he's looking up at the sky, and the sky starts to spin for him, and you can hear kids' laughter while he's doing this. And all of a sudden he falls to the ground, and the rest of the gang runs over to him, and they're all kind of like, are you okay? Like, how's it going? And he's like, no, I'm fine. That was weird. Like, they're like, was it Vecna? He's like, I don't think so. And so they kind of rally, and Lucas even, it implies like, listen, I get scared sometimes before these things too, but I don't get dizzy and spin and fall to the ground. And so,
this is
so Lucas is kind of saying like, hey, listen, it could be something. Let's not pretend that this is nothing. So they all agree, though, hey, 6:00, not a second later. That's the timestamp they put on it, and they try to go about the rest of their day. And this then cuts to Holly at the schoolyard. She's on one of those spinning wheels where she is spinning, also looking at the sky. And the teacher is calling them all in from recess. And so they start walking in towards recess, but then Holly turns and walks away. And we see her go up to the fence, where obviously this is the fence for the playground, and like the public is on the other side. And she's sitting there talking to this guy who we can only see like a black coat and a hand on the fence, only to then have the teacher come around the corner and see she's just talking to nobody. Like, there is nobody there at all, but she's still talking, and we can hear her talking.
Yes. And Eric, I also learned that in this scene, because you see her teacher, Miss Harris, come from around the corner and is watching her, she's played by this woman, Hope Hines Love. And Love was Matt and Ross Duffer's high school drama teacher.
Oh, that's funny.
And the two gave her a role in this show as a thank you for believing in them and encouraging them to pursue their careers in film. And I just thought that was so cool. And
that
she really
is amazing.
I don't know if we ever actually hear her, like, she doesn't really speak, because in here she's just watching, and then later on you see her.
She calls for the kids to come in at recess and stuff.
Right.
And I think we hear her like through a door in an upcoming scene.
Yes,
but
talking
we don't,
to her
but there's
mom.
you're right. There's not a lot of dialogue. But
so it was more of it was cool. I like that they did that.
So then we're brought from here, though, very abruptly into this military base where we see some of these upside down looking vines in a tank. And we get brought into the back with this doctor who is making an incision on some sort of foreign slimy looking object. And she is now having this conversation with this military commander, but not really the guy that's all the way in charge, because otherwise, like, she knows, hey, you didn't get the girl, did you? Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, how'd you know? He's like, well, because if you did, you know, the guy in charge would have been here himself. And so,
also notable, this is Sarah Connor from the Terminator,
yes,
Linda Hamilton. It's very like, wait, cool. What? When I first saw her on the first watch through, it's like, wait, that,
didn't expect cool. Linda Hamilton, but here we are.
Oh.
So the doctor says, listen, I'm running into a wall here. I need the girl. And so now we're left with a little bit of information like, oh, okay. So the military is tracking her down, not because they care about like bringing her in for anything else. This doctor needs her for something. And so as this conversation ends, we see them pan outside of the lab and you realize, oh, this lab is in the upside down. It is actually in the upside down with all these military people working in it. So it's been a minute, right? Like we've got all these clues that these people have been living this way for a long time. They have now built military structures in the upside down. That's where we're at.
Yeah, this happened pretty quickly, I would say. Because even for 18 months, I'm like, wait, what now? Like, this is, they've taken some extreme measures.
So, we are now back to 11 and Hopper, and 11 is desperately asking to go on the crawl, and Hopper saying, listen, I didn't see the time, you know, like, because as she was finishing her last run, that's when the code came through on the radio, and he never looked at his stopwatch to see the time. So, like, we can't let you go. And he's saying to her as they're walking into the cabin, listen, if you want to find Henry, you want to find Vecna, do it remotely, do it from the tub. And he points, and they have this tub set up in the cabin, ready to go whenever she needs it. But she doesn't need to go on this mission. The idea was you got to be 12 minutes and 30 seconds. I didn't see the time. It's not surprising to me that he's saying, hey, you've made 6 attempts at it today. You already beat your record once today. And she is detailing out, no, I saved a second here. I saved a second here. I saved 2 seconds here. I know I beat the time because, listen, it's 11. She knows. And he's saying, but listen, I didn't see it. So just because you think you beat it and there happens to be a crawl today, like, we're not going to let this happen. Like, you're going to have to sit this one out. Sorry. And this is, again, Hopper being very parental over the whole situation. So 11's pretty mad, and Hopper kind of walks off into a room to get his stuff ready. So he is acquiring guns and things like that. And Joyce is saying, you know, if it's just a recon mission, why do you need all these guns? And he said, no, listen, you never know what's going to happen down there. But if I see him, I'm tucking tail and running. That's the plan. Like, we all know the plan. So he's following this up with, listen, I want her primed, but I want her to be safe so that when we know, she's ready to go. And she is not like wasting her time coming down into this upside down where there are a ton of military people walking all over the place who are all looking for her. This is a unnecessary risk until she is able to do X, Y, and Z. And that X, Y, and Z seems to be meeting this time on an obstacle course. So then Joyce is asking, well, did she do it though? And he says, yeah, with a second to spare. So he knows. He knows that she beat the time, but he's not going to tell her. And Joyce is okay with this decision, so she walks off. And then Hopper goes over to the corner of the room and kind of moves a panel off of the wall and removes this thing from there, which looks kind of like a bag or a sack of something, but we can't really get a good eye on it yet. And then he puts that back on. But whatever it was something that he didn't want anybody to see. And he takes that out before going on this crawl. And he's got it with him, whatever it is. And I think that's that. Do you have anything to add for this section?
No, I mean, that scene, it's we just know that he's hiding something. He obviously has more up his sleeve, Hopper style.
Obviously.
And he's protecting 11, but also I'm like, Hopper, at this point, again, Eric, I feel like we talk about this every season. It's like, just let the kids do their thing. I mean, they're way more involved in this season, obviously, but I take more issue also a little bit later on with Joyce. I'm like, guys, for the love of God.
Joyce is much worse about this here in a little bit. So let's
also to Hopper, it's like 11. Come on, 11 is the one that you want to be there with you, dude. Like, just let it happen. But
yeah,
we'll talk more about that soon. Right now, we jump back into the scene at the school where we're seeing Dustin put Jake the Snake in the bully's locker. And, well, we see that he's done this, rather. We're not watching him do it. The bully is opening up, Hat Guy is opening up his locker and seeing the snake in there with a note that says, Hellfire lives. So Dustin is not being subtle about this. He's leaving the breadcrumbs for these guys. Like, he's not just like, throwing it in there and running off like scared. He is saying, yeah, here you go, dude. Like, this is me. Come get me. Dustin. Yeah. Dustin, he is not taking the advice of his friends. He is just going on.
No, and that doesn't really feel like an Eddie thing either. Like, I don't know. Like, this is way out of left field for him. Anyway,
Eddie would not have done this. No. Yeah. And he's upset. He obviously is just taking it out on the closest person there that he could take it out on. And we see Mike also looking for Holly at the school. So this is later on in the day. The hallways are empty. I had a moment because Mike's voice was kind of echoey in this scene where I'm like, he's still in like this. He's not in the upside down, right? Like, It was just very eerie feeling in this moment.
Well, I don't know why. It's a very empty hallway. That's all.
Yeah, empty schools have that feeling.
They do.
But we see, Holly is reading and waiting for her mom, for Karen, to come out from talking with her teacher, because we could see that they're talking behind closed doors. So Mike is asking her, is this about your mystery friend, Mr. Whatsit? So obviously this is something that's been going on for some time. And the Duffer Brothers did also pull that name. If I read it, it was so long ago that I'm not remembering it, but I guess that name is from A Wrinkle in Time.
Right, which is why they've got Holly reading the book, because it's
reading it.
They're like, it's not a like direct, there's no other correlation other than it being like a mystery friend or mysterious like person. I haven't read A Wrinkle in Time in a minute, but something along those lines. So like we have this person that she sees and she doesn't really have a name for, and that's kind of the best way that they can correlate it. So
and well, Holly's telling Mike that Mr. Whatsit is saying there are monsters in Hawkins trying to eat kids just like her. And Mike is assuming that she's imagining it because she's scared. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, Mike, like, you might want to, and maybe this is on rewatch value, but also you have someone telling Holly that someone is after them, and after everything they've been through, I might think about that for a little bit longer and take a little bit more credence in what she's saying. But he's really just feeling like, she's using her, imaginary friend as just, as something to comfort her, as children often do,
right? I don't think it's that far-fetched to think that that's what the case is. But when you're living in a world where things that seem out of place are much worse than they are, you might want to think about it a little bit.
Right. Like there are monsters for real in this world. So, but Mike is showing her his Mike the Brave tiny action hero. Well, his character from D&D that he'll use. Figurine, thank you. That they are using on their board, and he thinks of it when he needs to be extra brave. So he kind of not only uses this during the game, but tries to take on the persona of Mike the Brave when he really does have to conquer something scary in real life. And so he's telling her that she needs a Holly the Heroic, and gives her this tiny figurine, and tells her that this figurine is a cleric with divine powers that can cast a dimension door, which teleports you anywhere that you like. So you should hold on to this to keep you safe. And I really do like this moment between them. I feel like it was really good that Mike was there listening to her, hearing her, like trying to help her, when he can't be around, and hold on to this figurine, use it to your benefit. It was a good moment between them, and
it was, and I feel like this was, there were a lot of opportunities where we saw Mike as a younger kid and Nancy try to get along a little bit, and Holly's just always been too little for anything. So she's always been just at home, and like we see her every now and then in like these moments, but now she's definitely older. And so we see now Mike being the older brother and, putting an olive branch out there to try and be a person that she can rely on and someone that she can go to. And I think that is impactful for him, and it's impactful for her. And it also lets us know, like, hey, she's gonna be involved here. Like we're gonna need to know a little bit about Holly.
And they did take some, leeway with bending the timeline of the story with Holly, because right here, so her character is supposed to be 8 years old. I think technically she would have only been 4. And so they definitely do jump her ahead a bit, but that's because they wanted her to be more involved in the storyline. Yeah. And so they did bend that plot line a bit, or that timeline a bit.
And that is not atypical from TV shows, where one year, like, oh, we have a new baby, and then the next season they're like 12. Like,
yeah.
Like that has happened in sitcoms a lot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Maybe less in some other shows, but like there are definitely. This is, I guess what I'm trying to say is this is not an uncommon practice to age up or down somebody based on what they're trying to tell the story for.
Right. It's just definitely, it's noteworthy. And one other thing.
They did it, by the way, slowly. Like they went, like she was in the very first season, like a toddler.
Last season,
like she was not just born. She was like 4 in the first season. So I don't know how far they really bent this, because remember, she was the one that followed the lights in the very first season. She was probably 3.
She was 2.
They're saying she was 2 there?
I remember looking that up. She was 2.
Okay, so if she's 2 there,
she would have been 6.
Should be 6 now. She's definitely older than 6.
2 years.
Yeah.
So I was reading that she's supposed to be 8 here. What's interesting is
we saw them age the character over the last 4 seasons.
Yes. Last season, I would say they didn't. Yeah, she probably would have been more like 5 or 6 last season. So they did gradually start to like bring her, and they showed her a lot more last season than they had in the prior season as well. So I don't really feel like we saw her too much in season 3.
No, but there was like a scene with her sitting at a table, and then there was another scene doing something else. So they made her go from like 2 to, I think they went from like 2 to 4 to 6 to 8, like, and just kind of jumped it like that, which is not that unsettling when you watch it. But if you haven't been paying attention to Holly at all, which it would be very easy not to, then that falls through the gaps.
Oh, she was 100% a background character up until this season. And what's interesting, Eric, is that the actress who's playing her is really 13, but they knew that she could pull off like a younger kid, which she can. Like, she's just very petite, very young looking, and so she can pull that off, but also like she's such a great actress. I love her in this season.
So if they're saying she's supposed to be 8, I'm actually saying, listen, this whole group of kids are at least 10 to 13 years old. So they're all definitely older than what they're playing, but that's fine.
100%.
The idea is that they are young school kids. That's all that you need to know. We don't need a real number.
Yeah. No. But then we also see Lucas and Will at the hospital with Max. So Will is going to go off, and you could tell that they've been there for a while, and they kind of established that this has been a routine thing for them as well, that they just go and sit with Max. We also see that Max is still here, and she's been in this state unchanged. It looks like the same hospital bed that she was in last season at the end in that final episode. So nothing has really changed here. Lucas is playing her music for her, in the room, I think, trying to break through. I think that is really the only thing that he knows how to possibly contact her. So he just has that tape on repeat. We also see Will out in the hallway where he spots Robin. So he goes to call for her, and he's saying, trying to call for her down the hallway, but she sort of darts into another room, and he goes to look for her, isn't seeing her. And then we catch up with Robin to see, well, she's talking with her girlfriend. She's talking with Vicky, and she's like in like the candy striper outfit, because she is like a nurse's aide there, and she's working at the hospital, a nursing assistant, and Will is hearing like giggling and laughing from the other room, opens the door to see them kissing, and drops this Coke can that he was starting to drink, but then runs off. So it's like I think he is feeling like less alone in that moment, because he's seeing, Robin's gay, and he is just learning this, obviously. Like, she's only come out to Steve up until this point in their group, and knows that it's something that he's not supposed to know. And so when Robin like hears the Coke can, she darts out, looks in the hallway, sees it's Will that's running off, and is just like, oh, that little shit. Like, oh my gosh, now she knows that he knows, and it's a whole situation.
The only thing that I want to add to that is that she ends up having to cancel the date because of this crawl. Yes. So she cancels the date with Vicky and then says, hey, listen, tomorrow I'm paying for Enzo's. So they're going to go to Enzo's, which is established at this point is like the fanciest restaurant in town.
The date spot. Yeah.
And so she's like, you can't afford that. And she's like, yeah, sure I can. And she's going to figure out a way. So then tomorrow we've rescheduled the date for Enzo's, and Vicky is totally okay with that. She's not thrilled about having the date canceled, but she's okay with the makeup date for tomorrow. So we'll just toss that in.
Interesting that Enzo's is still open, I would say too.
Apparently it made it inside the barricade walls. So there you go.
It's like, wow, they've let Enzo's stay open. And I guess
Steve can't get his poppers somewhere. He can't.
That's
what
I'm
get
saying.
Those things, boxed frozen goods. Saying.
I know. So we haven't really got the full scope of what's accessible and what isn't yet. But I thought that was just interesting. You got to keep the people, I guess, happy to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So then we see Dustin at Eddie's grave, where someone has written "burn in hell," which it's like, is that red spray paint right across Eddie's headstone?
Well, he clearly is coming up to this with supplies. So this is not a new occurrence. This happens all the time.
Right. Because he had what looked like paint thinner or something like in this other can with him. And so, right, you can tell this is something that he routinely has to do, is fix up Eddie's headstone because people keep desecrating it. And he's touching it, though, and realizing, oh, this isn't paint this time. This is blood. And he moves this like dirt away and realizing it's Jake the Snake. Yeah. And they've killed Jake and written this in blood on the headstone, which honestly, this is not exactly a surprise. Dustin, you kind of created this situation here.
Yeah.
This is bad. This is really bad.
The thing that most notably stuck out to me wasn't that he noticed it was blood as much, which he obviously did, but that he also like put his finger on it and it came right off, which means it hasn't been there for very long.
Right. This is not dried. This is still wet blood. And Eric, someone else, I didn't spot this, but I was reading that Barb's grave is actually visible in this shot when Dustin goes to Eddie's grave.
Interesting. I didn't see it. But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's stuff in every single shot that you're looking for. I was actually more focused on trying to see if I could see Billy's grave, because it seems like a very similar location.
Yes, it 100% would have been. Yeah, I remember Billy's grave was like right on top of that steep hill.
It was up like you went up this hill and it was in this flat area right up on top. You got to run up the hill. Oh, look at that. Same joke. God. Okay. That feels like a good moment to move on. Let's continue.
Yeah. Well, in this scene, though, this is brutal because the bullies have now surrounded Dustin at the grave, and Dustin is just kind of laughing at them. And I love how Dustin is just throwing down the D&D nerd fandom facts. Like, he's just going off, and I'm like, Dustin, I know.
He's like, oh, well, like in the last campaign I was in, like I did this and the other thing, and like it was the best thing ever. And I'm like, Dustin, what are you saying right now? Like, what? I mean,
Dustin.
Oh, gosh.
I think he's just like making the extra point, or it's like,
what?
He's not hiding from who he is. Like, he is just like, this is who,
and I think who
I am, and I'm just gonna throw it in your faces.
I think the idea too was like, oh, I got to use this thing that blinded everybody, and therefore it helped me win the thing. And so here he is surrounded by this group, and he's got this paint thinner on him or whatever, and he's going to throw it on all of them and try to blind them all so he can get out of the thing. Yeah, didn't quite work the same.
No, didn't blind them. Did not blind them. This is not a campaign, buddy. And it's because there were 3 of them, right? Four. There were four of them against Dustin.
There were 4 of them, and he did get some on all of them. So, like, you could see their eyes were irritated afterwards, but still didn't make it very far.
They've knocked him out. He's on the ground. They are just kicking him. I mean, this can like kill a person.
Oh yeah.
So if you and so this is brutal. They are just taking him down. And meanwhile, you see the guys, like his boys, are trying to reach him. Like they are trying to reach him on the walkie-talkie, and Dustin is not picking up. So this is not good because Dustin has no idea about the crawl. He does not know. He has
no clue.
He's not been tuned into the radio. Like, Eric, when you mentioned, like, they all have their radios open.
Well, wait. No. He knows. He absolutely knows. Because he was at the table with them in the woods setting the whole thing up. He was definitely there.
You're right.
He knows
He was
all about
there.
it.
So that kind of makes it worse. So he knows that this is the plan.
Like, this is the thing. But apparently this is not uncommon because...
Right.
First of all, we get, during the beat up, we have, as you like to call him, Hat Guy, says, Hellfire dies tonight with you. And so they're like intending to kill him right there and kill Hellfire once and for all. But Dustin is now an hour late, and you see the gang talking about how he's not here. And yet everyone seems to understand, well, he always shows up though, but he's always late. It seems like a running trend. But at this moment, we see Mike from like the radio squawk area looking down and seeing Hopper, Joyce, and most importantly, Elle walking across this field, and they do this big hug. People are asking if Dustin is okay, and they're saying, listen, he was acting weird today. He's just not being like himself. And then Mike and Elle are having this conversation about Dustin on top of the squawk roof. And he's talking about how, well, Will had a feeling today, so maybe this will be the last crawl. Like there may be something connected. We may be getting close. And he talks about, if we end up wrapping this whole thing up, we can have our happily ever after. And this is something that I would do, like if in my D&D campaigns, is that the happily ever after, the group doesn't really get to go back to the town because there's too many memories. It's too like impactful. Like they can't really live in that same place anymore. So they go to a faraway land that's peaceful and has 3 waterfalls or something. And that way they can start over. And Elle is asking, well, could that be us? And he's saying, of course, like, absolutely, that could be us. So they've got that in mind. And then they get called down from the roof. And we are now into the active planning section here. Still no Dustin, but there's some sort of tracker beacon that Hopper has that goes live, and you can see it flashing and making a noise. And they are trying to figure this out, how to connect it to this van, which Dustin is apparently the guy for the van who is always running this satellite on top of the squawk van. And they're able to tell Steve, who's in the van, Dustin put a safety lock on it somewhere. So he looks, finds the safety lock, unlocks it, and now he can rotate this satellite around. And so he's trying to locate the beacon that Hopper has, and you can see him test it out, gets it pointed the correct direction, and he gets it up to 90 decibels, which means, okay, that's the strongest signal as we're going to get. They need to try and keep it somewhere between 60 and 70. That's the goal. Because what's going to happen is Hopper's going to take that into the upside down, and they're going to drive over the top of him with this van and try and track where he is at all times so that they can get him out. And without Dustin, they need somebody to be able to do it. Will says, hey, I'll do it. I'll run the wheel. No problem. And Joyce steps in and is like, absolutely not. You stay in this room and don't do anything.
This is bad.
It's not a good look.
Oh, this is bad. And Will is just like shut down. Like,
they don't even debate it. It's just, no, you sit. Your role is to do absolutely nothing. Like Will's whole purpose at this point is to sit, do nothing, and wait until he gets tingles on the back of his neck, and maybe he can tell us something.
God. And Joyce is like, yeah, Jonathan, you do it.
Poor He's like, Jonathan, you can do it, right? And I'm thinking, well, what was Jonathan's job? Like, Jonathan had to have another job that now is not getting done because he's been appointed to the wheel. And, of course, he goes into the van, and, it's Jonathan and Steve in the van. Steve's driving. Jonathan's on, like, the search. And the whole idea is, like, even Hopper says, listen, you better get me, because if you don't, like, I'm not coming back. Like, there's no way for me to get back. So they need this to work. So Jonathan's confirming, like, yeah, no, I got it. No problem. And so he's on the tracking wheel. Steve is driving. Hopper is going to go into the upside down somehow. And this is the gang. So they get in the van. They take off. There are a couple people on bikes. They're out behind the squawk van. And everybody's kind of going into their own spot. And we watch Elle and Will get left behind. And we see Hopper then going into this, I'm going to call it like a manhole trench situation that they've clearly worked out in the woods. And he's going down into this thing. Joyce's
he's going down into like the tunnel system that really is the same one that was created in season 2 with Will's drawings.
Will's drawings created this whole tunnel system. So that's the tunnels that he's getting into. So he's dropping in, and Joyce is saying, hey, promise me you'll come back, which he doesn't. and he says something along the lines of, how come you get more beautiful every year? And she doesn't say anything to that. And she's like, you didn't answer my question? And he's like, nope, I didn't. And neither did you. So he just drops in and shuts the lid. And I mean, what are you looking for, Joyce? How is he really supposed to promise that?
Oh my God. This is not good. I mean, Joyce is obviously very scared here and acting out of fear, but dude, no, just Joyce.
Well,
I can't.
So Joyce starts heading back, and Hopper is now in the tunnels and makes his way, essentially, where am I at here in my notes? Sorry.
To the military base?
He makes his way, he makes his way to what is essentially
the Radio Shack. I think that's Bob's Radio Shack.
Now, we do see amidst all of this, Joyce asking questions and Hop in the trenches, we do also get this very short scene with Holly at home, where she is now putting on a necklace, and the necklace has Holly the Heroic figurine right in the middle of it. And meanwhile, she is listening to her parents arguing. And Ted is saying, she's too old to have an imaginary friend. Like, this is something that they do when they're 5. And Karen is saying, do you even know how old she is?
Oh, boy.
And he doesn't respond. And so it's oh my Lord. And Holly just ends up going back into her room and crying on her bed while her parents are arguing over the situation about Holly. And this is where we go back to Hop now approaching the Radio Shack.
I saw someone commented on that scene that, like, do you think they were making this jab at, like, Holly's age because no one really knows how old she's supposed to be?
I think that's a real thing. I think they brought that in because it's like, you know how old she is? It's like, nobody knows how old she is because we just had this whole debate like a few minutes ago. How old is she? Genuinely, she looks like she's 12. Like, she looks like she's the age that Mike and Will and Dustin and Lucas all were at the very beginning. So as far as 100%. I'm concerned, whatever her age number is, she is the age that represents the young group starting again. Mike is now the age that Nancy and Jonathan and Steve were. Like, they're at the end of the high school track. And Nancy and Jonathan and Steve and Robin, they're on the, like, hey, we're not quite adults yet, but we're pretty close. And like that's where everybody should be. And you put whatever number you want with that, that's how I see it. And I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. And I love how they've just stayed true to Ted's character and not tried to turn him into something that he's not. Because he is just,
he would never, that's against his character. His character is going to be exactly what it is.
Yeah, he's a little bit like the George McFly, I would say, of the Stranger Things saga.
Oh, that is not... you're giving George McFly no credit at all.
George McFly was... He was definitely better. Sweeter. Yeah. But he was checked out, though, too. I mean, that was just, like, the times, though. I don't know.
Not in the later ones after he wrote the book.
Well, hey, no, not in the late, but people take issue of that. That is a different rabbit hole. We don't have time to go down that right now.
Fair enough.
Maybe you know what? We should probably do that series at some point because I can't stop talking about it. But anyway, we then are with the guys, with meaning all at their different posts, right?
Yes, the plan is being rolled out.
Yes, so we see Lucas looking out with his binoculars down into the military base because they've almost made their way up to, what is this called? Like some type of tower.
It's the center of town. It's like the town hall is what I'm calling.
I guess it's okay, that makes sense. So they're looking down into the military base from this tower in the town hall, and they are waiting until the path is clear for Hop. And when the coast is clear, Hopper is then able to jump onto one of these trucks because he is planning on going through the gate on the truck because Jonathan is also telling Steve when the signal in the car, so in the van rather, is reaching, although Eric, in this moment too, not to keep going back to it, but it looked like he was telling him when it was at 88. And I thought that was great. And they take off. So they're off following Hopper, and this allows them to track exactly, like Eric was saying, track exactly where Hopper is at through this mission.
They do a good job of this with little like cutscenes back and forth, and when they kind of were doing all the map sequencing earlier, they showcased how like Hop would be driving in the truck here because this is where they always go when they're doing their supply drops, and then Steve is going to drive essentially on top of him on the right side up version all the way through. Yes. And Jonathan is just going to track this, beacon that that Hopper is holding. That way they can make sure that they keep track of him wherever he is.
Yeah. Well, and a key point that I guess I sort of glossed over right there was that there were these guys ahead of the trucks that the boys were calling burners, who had just flamethrowers, and because within the military base there's a gate. There is a giant gate, and they are having to burn it open. And then there's a certain amount of time that then the trucks have to blow through the gate, go into the upside down, and deliver the goods to them. So this is obviously something very routine, where once that base that's set up on the upside down, they need more supplies. This is the way that then they get the trucks through and get the supplies to those people.
I would like to say, one of my bigger issues when it comes to the physics of everything that we've had is this gate. Okay. We just watched in season 4, like the gang going up a rope multiple times and then flipping over and flipping over and flipping over. And meanwhile, when these burners burn down this gate, everything on the other side is right side up. So the truck can just drive right on through and not have to flip upside down.
That's a good point.
The whole concept of the upside down is that it is on the other side and it is upside down of us. And so like it shouldn't be a straight, smooth, like walkway into the other side.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only the big problem I have with this gate.
That's a problem. But also something else with that scene is that like that one that was in Eddie's ceiling, once it was open, like once that red, like, sinewy material was broken through, it didn't keep trying to seal back up. And here it's almost like they burn it open, and then it's practically like once the trucks make it through, you can see it's already starting to close back up.
Well, I will say I think it did. I think it did because it came through and did the whole Chrissy thing, right? And then when they went over there after the light bright, they had to jab through it.
Okay. Yeah.
Now that being said, time is...
They didn't have to burn through it, though.
No, they just like jabbed through it. Like they didn't have to burn it. But burning would work as well, but obviously.
Yeah.
But they had to create an opening there. But we've seen these gates attempt to close back up. That's not shocking.
Oh, yeah.
But but in that circumstance, after they got through the first time, they didn't really have to do it over and over again, or at least we never saw them do it over and over again.
Yeah.
They might have had to do it every time.
Yeah. Well, as Jonathan and Steve are tracking Hopper, they all of a sudden lose touch with him. And 11 just has this spidey sense that the soldiers, they know that he's there. And we also see Will getting the goosebumps again on the back of his neck. And Hopper on this truck is hearing a very familiar sound, which would be a Demogorgon.
Mm-hmm.
So as he's seeing this Demogorgon, we also see Will going into this trance-like state. And this is new. We have not seen this before. And in this state, he is looking down and seeing, we're realizing the Demogorgon's perspective. So he is watching it attacking the soldiers, almost like he is the Demogorgon, right? And you then go back to the room that Will is in, and all of the lights are flashing like crazy, as we know that they do when something's going down. And we also are then back with Hopper. It's sort of flashing back and forth between all these different moments with the group, right? So back with Hopper, we see the soldiers, they're trying to shoot the Demogorgon and kill it. Well, in this craziness, Hopper ends up getting nicked by a stray bullet, and you see him kind of touching his side, realizing there's blood. And the soldiers are still trying to kill this Demogorgon. It's not working. The Demogorgon is now, he's killed all the soldiers and is on top of this truck. And Hopper is just being thrown around like crazy. And we also see at the same time Will falling to the ground and hitting his head really hard. So he's out. And Hopper is now out of the truck because it's crashed at this point. And he's looking around with his gun, trying to reach the group on his walkie-talkie as well, but no one's answering. And so he just makes a run for it.
No, and no one's answering because when all the lights were flickering in the right side up, one of the things is like the power box at the radio station, which essentially explodes. So there is no more like radio communication at this point.
Nope.
And so now when he's testing his radio, there's no one on the other side.
No, there's no juice. And we then see Joyce trying to wake up Will, but his eyes are just white. And we see him back in the Demogorgon's perspective and racing through the grasses. And actually, we see he's in the Upside Down looking at the Wheeler's house.
Yeah.
And this is that same perspective that we saw last season when the kids were like in the Upside Down trying to break through and get to the Wheeler's house in that moment. And Will wakes up hyperventilating and saying, I saw it. The Demogorgon. It's coming, and it's coming for them. And he looks over at Nancy. And then we see Ted just hitting golf balls as Karen is finishing off more wine and going upstairs. Mm-hmm. So they've now just gone into their probably routines of de-stressing. And meanwhile, though, Holly is crying in her bed and noticing her nightlight starts to flash. It's like, oh boy, here we go. So her nightlight is flashing and she goes over to pull it out. And it's now in her hand, still flashing. So it has no power. It's still somehow powered and going crazy. And then all of a sudden, all of her lights in her room start flashing and going
including
crazy.
The light bright.
The light bright is next, right? Then this like bedside table, then her overhead light. Everything is just freaking out. And then what's worse is that her ceiling busts open and a giant red marking starts to appear. And we know this is a gate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just a gate, but a Demogorgon's head pops through the ceiling and is in full flower anger mode, looking right at Holly. And that's where the episode ends. It's crazy.
Great way to end an episode, by the way. Like, definitely makes you say, gotta watch the next one.
Oh, like, yeah.
Remember, these first four all came out together, so you immediately were like, yep, flip on that next one. Like, what happens here? Great cliffhanger to end this first episode on. Now we're going to jump into our IMDb rating segment of the podcast, where we talk about our ratings and your ratings the way we find them on IMDb, plus our favorite and least favorite characters of the episode. What do you want to do first? How do you want to go about favorite and least favorite? Right. Do you have one that jumps out?
Well, the one that really jumped out more to me in this episode is my least favorite, and that was Joyce. I just really did not like Joyce in this episode. I felt like really the only way they showcased her character was being way too overprotective over Will, who it's like you just gotta like he wasn't even going into the upside down, Joyce. Like he was gonna be with someone else too. He wasn't gonna be alone, and he was just gonna be tracking Hop's location. Like I really did not understand how wildly overprotective she was being in this moment. It did not seem to fit. I didn't like it. So I picked Joyce as my least. Yeah.
Listen, Joyce was on the shortest of short lists for me. I was Joyce or this other person. I ended up going with the other one, and Joyce, for everything that you said, man, she could have been the least. No doubt about it. There was not a whole lot to like about Joyce in this episode, in all honesty. I'm going to go with Dustin. I feel like Dustin is trying way too hard to be out of character and do things that clearly the rest of them are on board with. And I feel like even in previous seasons, Dustin would not buck the trend this much to go on his own rampage. We've seen him before, and he was the least favorite. Like when he had Dart and he had Dart hidden away.
God.
It wasn't a good look for Dustin then. This is a more extreme version of that, because
that makes sense.
Now he's just like trying to cause a fight to happen. Like he's actively wanted to be in this situation. It's almost like he's trying to sacrifice himself for no good. Like at least Eddie did this during a situation which it was saving everybody or attempting to save everybody. Dustin's just trying to fight bullies, and they are not going to pull punches. That not in this atmosphere. So
no, and I think almost at the grave, it's almost like he wanted to get his ass kicked. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
People are in so much pain that like they just want to feel something else. I think he like wanted them to beat him up, and it's like now is just not the time. Like
no,
Dustin. Like because to your point, Eric, I forgot that he knew about the crawl. So it's like, why are you doing this now? This is not good. So
no, even like going to clean Eddie's grave at that moment, like you have other things that you need to do. Like no offense, Eddie's not going to be disappointed if you do the crawl and then clean his grave the next day.
No, Eddie would actually want you to be helping your friends.
Yeah.
Like that's what he would be wanting you to do. But for my favorite, I went with Mike on this episode.
My goodness, that's crazy. I thought I was going to be alone in that, but I also picked Mike.
I'm like, Mike, because I feel like we give Mike a really hard time a lot of times.
I really do.
Justifiably so. It's like he's not always the best character.
No.
I already know even in upcoming episodes where it's like, maybe there would be a better choice there. So yeah, Mike, I feel like he did a great job in both talking to Eleven and to Holly.
Yes.
And really doing what he does best about being the heart of the group. I feel like that Will giving him that speech in the last episode, I feel like has really stuck with him from the last season, rather, where he's like, you're the heart. That's what you do. Like, I think that was really cool that he's taking that to heart.
Totally agree that he has taken that mantle and run with it as being the heart. You see him talking with 11, where he is the heart and trying to like lead through where they're going to go. He has that same sort of connection with Holly, being the heart and being the one who's out there to reach out and be a part. He's also taking the lead, and he is the one walking through the plan of the crawl with them all at the picnic table. Like he is taking control of that. He's also the one that, despite Lucas stepping to the bully, it is Mike that steps up and says something else. And that's when the bully truly backs down, because now there's more than one. So you don't have to just hide behind Lucas. Mike is also taking that to heart. And so I really think Mike did a fantastic job in this episode. And I know I have given him more crap than anybody about a lot of the stuff that he's done. But this is the Mike that I want to see. And he did great.
Agreed.
Now, ratings.
Okay.
Now, so I'll go first because we have not talked about our ratings yet, so I'm very curious as to what you want to put down. But I have a very specific thing. I went back and looked at all of my like first episode ratings. Okay, and the first season, I think the first season, first episode was like as good as a first episode can get. I remember saying that. I gave it a 9.1. Then Mad Max season 2, episode 1, 8.4. Season 3, episode 1, got an 8. Season 4, episode 1 was Hellfire Club. That one was great. I gave that a 9. And here we are, season 5, episode 1. And I am going to say this is my least favorite season opener to date.
Yeah.
And as such, I cannot then go above an 8. I think there is, I don't know how to phrase this, but there's clearly so much time that has passed between season 4, episode 9 and season 5, episode 1, that I feel like no matter what I'm doing, I am trying to play catch up and I'm not really part of what's going on. And I'm trying to learn all of the different things. Like they've done this crawl 30 times is what they're saying. They have done this a lot. Getting equipped with all of this knowledge, knowing where Max is standing and what Holly's up to and how 11 is training, but what is she training for? And like Hopper's got a plan, but we don't really know what his plan is. And the whole crawl, burn, like bringing in supplies combination, like just understanding where Hawkins is at. I feel like I am really, really behind the 8 ball. And so I will say this. The lowest number I've given an episode was The Lost Sister, which was panned by everybody. And I gave that a 7.5. I do not think this is that bad. I'm giving this a 7.6 though. Like I really have a hard time keeping up with this one. That being said, I will give it this. I will say, when you look back, when you look at season 5 as a whole, I think this first episode did a decent job of letting us know what's going to happen going forward. But just watching this episode, I'm trying to pull all these pieces together and it feels so disjointed from where we left off and where we are now that I'm trying to catch up the whole time. And I just don't love that. And so it's on the lowest end for me right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I could totally understand that. And looking at back, it's funny because I hadn't looked back at my other opening ratings until after I had already locked this one in. But it actually just sort of makes sense because it is not my lowest rated intro to a season, not my lowest rated first episode to a season, but it is close. It sounds like from what you're saying, like I definitely liked it a little bit more than you, but I get what you're describing because it's true. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, trying to piece it all together, but I really loved and I think maybe part of it too is this is a rewatch, right? So now since we're rewatching it, I think I actually like it more on the rewatch than I did the first time that I saw it.
Absolutely.
And so watching it now, knowing what I know about how the whole series ends, the intro scene to this episode with Will as a young kid was awesome. All the little breadcrumbs that we're seeing that will end up coming together, I just like more. But I remember the first watch through, even the whole scene with like seeing 11 training, and I'm kind of like, all right, what is this all for? Like, what's going on? Like,
there's so much that you just don't know. It's like, what is really happening here? How is this all fitting together? And I agree. If you look at where this goes and then you look back, this did a very good job of setting all of that up. But coming off of season 4 and going into this, it's like, whoa, where is all this coming from?
Yeah, and they tried to do a bit with, like, you know, obviously Robin on the radio and giving a lot of, like, pieces and details there about what had happened, where they've been. They tried to, like, weave that in through the conversation, but it's a lot. I mean, it is a lot, but I also love the way that this episode ended. Like, it's like, wait, what the heck? Like, how is this possibly going to work? Now we have a Demogorgon in the Wheeler's house. Okay. Like that's where we're leaving things. Crazy. So I'm giving this one an 8.3, which is definitely on the lower end. Like when I look at, I think the only one that it is slightly higher than is Mad Max. Mad Max, which was the first episode of season 2, I gave an 8.2.
Yeah.
And so that was the only one.
8.3 to Susie, do you copy as well?
Right. So on the same page as that, I know for a fact that my ratings are going to go higher. Whether I might dip down again at some point during the season. We'll see how it goes. Super excited to continue the watch, but I'm also excited to see how they rated this episode.
I think these episodes will swing wildly. I think the people will swing wildly through these because it's also very fresh, and the ratings that are on IMDb have only been there for like less than a calendar year. So it changes a little bit about that. Okay. So the IMDb people on this one have actually rated this a 7.8, which is
right in between. Okay.
1, 2, 3. It is the third lowest rating for the people. The people hate the Lost Sister got crushed, right? Crushed. It was not good.
Yeah.
And then Susie, do you copy, which you also gave an 8.32. That was the last one. That also got a 7.8, and then Mallrats got a 7.9, which I think is outrageous.
Which we liked. Yeah, we liked Mallrats.
But but so I think the thing is with these ratings, like I would go higher than a 7.6 if I look at season 5 as a whole and go, oh, this did a really good job of setting it up. For me, it's the disconnect from leaving season 4 and starting season 5 and feeling like I'm almost watching a totally different show.
There are
so few connections that I can make and hang my hat on and go, yeah, that's the thing. That's what makes me drop it down significantly. But I know I got some coming up that I'm going to put higher than that. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sure.
Well, thank you so much for listening to the We Run on Reruns podcast. Please check out our socials, Instagram, YouTube, subscribe, follow, share, all the fun stuff you can do there. We really appreciate all of that support that we're seeing so far. You can also find us at werunonreruns.com, our own website, which has all of our podcasts in full. Not to mention, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please leave us 5 stars there if you have an opportunity. For Amanda, this is Eric. Enjoy rerunning episode 2, chapter 2 of season 5 of Stranger Things for next week. That is The Vanishing of Holly Wheeler. Happy rerunning, everybody.
See you later, guys.